Hi there, and welcome to Strings to Your Bow. I'm Chloe Weatherhead, your host and the proud owner of Andiamo Business Assistants. This is the podcast where we dive into the personal experiences that shape success. Because let's be honest, no one's career path is ever a straight line. Every week we explore the unique skills, or as I like to call them, superpowers, that our guests have developed along the way and how these strengths have fueled their business journeys. This week I'm joined by the incredible Anna, whose story is a testament to resilience, reinvention, and embracing the unexpected. After more than 20 years in housing, Anna thought she had her career mapped out until a surprise redundancy in 2024 turned everything upside down. But rather than seeing it as a setback, she saw an opportunity. Anna took the leap into self-employment, using her expertise in marketing and communications to support a charity in Ilkley. But she didn't stop there. She also launched a women's business network to support and empower others navigating the same challenges. Now, thanks to flexible working and a lot of coffee, Anna gets to combine her passion for helping businesses and communities thrive while continuing to uplift women in business. She's also returned to housing with an incredibly supportive employer, proving that success doesn't have to mean choosing just one path. And did I mention she's a runner? Fitness keeps her focused, driven, and ready to take on whatever challenge comes next, whether it's building a business, growing a community, or an early morning training session. Anna, I'm so excited to have you here. Let's start by getting to know you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, thank you, Chloe. Firstly, huge feat to fill, I think, in terms of some of the other brilliant individuals you've had on this podcast. So I think there's a bit of imposter syndrome there in terms of, am I interesting enough for people? But let's see. I'm Anna Clewlow. Currently, I'm in the Clark Foley office in Ilkley, so excuse anybody that fumbles through the door there. I've just found myself spending more and more time here in Ilkley. As you said before, I'm a social housing professional, so I've done everything from kind of frontline housing officer type stuff, then found myself in customer engagement. So that had a bit of a comms tilt on it, and I've worked with various providers where we're trying to engage customers, be more than just a landlord. So doing schemes for tenants, trying to get people back into work, well-being and health, as well as getting their opinions and feedback on an area that's now regulated, to be fair. So lots of experience in that, but then have managed to kind of reskill, I suppose, in marketing and comms over the past sort of 10 years, and I've managed to sort of blend that into what I was doing in housing. Then saw an awesome opportunity here at Clark Foley. They were only looking for 5 hours a week, I think, at the time, for somebody just to do a bit of marketing coordination and sort of fundraising, literally kind of minimum wage work, but I just really enjoyed it. That was probably coming up to a couple of years ago now, and then it built up from there. As you said, I'm sure we'll touch on it in a bit, got made redundant last sort of late summer and built up my hours here, and then kind of went down the road of doing some self-employed stuff. And I don't want to give it all away on the first bit, but yeah, now I find myself back in social housing, reinvigorated, but able to do all of the bits that I really liked from the self-employment stint. So yeah, it's been a kind of eventful 9 months.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that is fairly consistent from this podcast, and one of the key messages that comes out every single time is there is no such thing as a straight career path. And the message that we get from school, in that when you're 5 years old, you decide what you want to be when they're grown up, and that's the decision is made, and then you just keep heading that direction, actually is a misconception. It's a bit of a fairy tale, and when you talk to people, there is a lot to be said by keeping your ears open for opportunities and trying new things and just having a go. And I think that's what we hear from yours as well. So you've mentioned your housing background.
Yeah,
obviously, I mean, we met through the networking as well.
Yeah, we did, which is another part of it. So yeah, I totally concur with what you're saying. I mean, I don't think anybody, when it's doing the GCSEs now, goes, I want to be a housing officer. I think these are jobs that you don't even know are jobs.
Yeah.
And I imagine there was no virtual assistants maybe when you were like, finishing school or whatever. That shows how things are changing all the time. Networking, yeah, didn't even know that was a thing. That only came about because of the work at the Clark Foley, thinking of events and holding different fairs and I don't know, different fundraising concepts. And then I suddenly realized that I had a whole bank of small businesses, mainly women, that I'd been dealing with and helping and trying to, obviously whilst raising money for the centre, but being able to kind of help them in business and raise their profile. And just thought, hang on a minute, there's a theme here, we could get these together. I didn't know anything about networking this time last year, in terms of, it was something that I absolutely hated in a work capacity and would like cringe and just be like, yeah, I can't stand. And look where I am now. So yeah, it when I first set it up, I'm very much, I'll have an idea and I just go with it. And I think, as I don't over plan anything, I go with it, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, that's okay. And I think that's a learning. And yeah, first meeting happened. I think there's about 12 ladies there. And then obviously I start to educate myself about other networks that are around. And if you're a networking person, you know that you wouldn't just go to one network.
Yeah.
And looking at how other networks function. Some of them are free of charge, some of them are quite expensive, some of them are a subscription idea. And you see a lot of the same people appearing at different ones. And yeah, so it's like a whole industry that I didn't even know was here, and just sort of had one idea, literally probably one day sat in this room and then thought, I'll do it.
Yeah, and I think we've mentioned your resilience, because being made redundant is a massive blow. Whoever you are, it's a massive blow, and it can really impact your confidence, and it can impact your idea of identity as well. And we've mentioned your adaptability and your flexibility and your willingness to try new things and just give it a go.
Yeah.
And there's some key personal experiences that you would identify as shaping who you are today.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I think that I'd always say that I've been a hard worker, always driven by work, always enjoyed work. And I think the only times that I haven't enjoyed work anywhere, I've changed it. So I think it fills a lot of your time up. I think that probably the fact that I am driven by work, and means that it's the self-employment part of it suited, because you do have to, I am completely in awe in people like yourself and other people who've been on the podcast and in the network, that where appreciation of how stressful and consuming it can be. Because for me, I think, as somebody I think I'm quite a hard worker, it's like your day's never done. It's how do you draw you think you've never quite done enough. So I think those kind of things, and the fact that historically I've just got one daughter who's at university now, but I've been a single parent for like 20 years. And I think having to create your own income and trying to give her all of those opportunities has meant that I am very work driven. So I think that that's helped. And I think because it's redundancy is one of those things, I've been in that place a few times, and I know for some people it's massive, and it is massive, because I think any type of uncertainty, I'm not great with uncertainty, and you don't know what's around the corner. But 9 times out of 10, I think it is an opportunity. And like you say, you just don't know. I could not imagine this time last year that I'd be sitting having this conversation with you about setting a network up, because it's not even something that's vaguely similar to anything really that I'd done before. So I think that I am used to, I've moved around quite a bit sort of, and I think that I am quite a resilient person, and I'm quite adaptable. And the good thing is that I really thrive, I think, on kind of ideas and creativity. So I'm always wanting to try something new and push the boundaries on that. So I think that, and not everything works, and I think that that's been a massive learning curve. But when it hasn't worked, it's not worked for a reason, and at the time it feels a bit rubbish. But then 6 months on, you're like, thank God that never came to anything, because otherwise I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah, and I think going back to the conversation we were having about being at school and at 5 years old or whatever ridiculous, people asking you what you want to be when you were. I mean, you don't even know what you want for tea. Why would you know what you want to be when you grow up? It's a really strange concept, and actually, there's much more to be said for looking at your skill set and looking at what you enjoy and looking at what you don't enjoy,
100%.
and then finding things that fit you, that work for you, regardless of what that job title is.
And really. I think that again, you probably don't gain that confidence to do that maybe, and sadly, until you're kind of getting older. So for example, like you say now, if you feel like you can drive your own destiny a bit more, so it's like, if this isn't working for me now, or I like to do this, well, who's to say that you can't add that into your portfolio, you know, of being able to shape your work life or your life to look like you want it to look. So for me, it's ended up being that my self-employment journey is sort of being totally self-employed is relatively short compared to a lot of the people in our kind of circles. But I realized that I was probably undervaluing myself, and because I was desperate to still be bringing in the same level of income and probably doing things that didn't align with who I was and what I wanted to be doing. So by kind of having a freak opportunity, I wasn't looking for an employed job. Something just came into my kind of line of sight, and I thought, I like that organization. I'm getting a good vibe from it. But even at that point, it was very much like, unless when I meet them, I get a good feeling from the people there, from the culture, and they are willing to appreciate that this is a big part of my life, because I wasn't willing to sacrifice the stuff that I'd liked that I'd set up. So the network and this work here in Ilkley. If I can combine the two, brilliant. But if I can't, I'm just going to carry on doing what I'm doing, but being stricter with myself as to the value I put on my services and what I'm willing to do. And if that means that actually I have to cut my cloth accordingly and appreciate that I'm not going to be bringing as much money in the short term, then so be it.
Yeah, but I think that's a lesson that we all learn when we're going down that route, because actually moving from employment to self-employment, there is a constant voice in the back of your head. You've got to pay the bills. You've got to pay the bills. Totally. So actually, sometimes that can influence what you have to take process and what you're willing to do. And hindsight's a wonderful thing. And afterwards, you think that wasn't working. I'm never doing it again. But you have to go through that journey, and you have to be kind to yourself and almost trust your gut through that process, because it's all part of learning to be self-employed and learning what you do enjoy and what you don't enjoy. You've got to try it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, totally agree. I think that sometimes I wasn't strict enough with boundaries. I took on work that, and this was a difficult one, the pricing element of it. And I think the pricing around, I'm still having that debate with myself around the network element of that. And it's like, what's the value? But then equally, you've got to be, it's not just what's the value, but it's what people are willing to pay for it. And, so that's a bit of a debate. I think that having the financial sort of pressure taken off me, in the sense that I know that I've got a certain amount of income coming in because I've got that security. In some ways I feel like I chickened out a bit, but in other ways I'm able to do a better job and just invest money back into the self-employed stuff and the network. And I've got some ambitions in terms of that I'm thinking, well, actually, it's given me the opportunity to potentially take it further, but maybe just in a slightly different way.
Yeah. And you mentioned, obviously, you have the employed role now, you have the self-employment, you have the networking, and you're a single parent, and obviously that has influenced the last 20 years or so. So how
definitely.
Do you balance your personal life and business responsibilities? What strategies do you use to maintain balance?
I don't think I do very well, Chloe, to be honest. I think that because I like doing I wouldn't say I'm not a doom scroller in terms of being on a phone and just like flicking through social media. But I think because so much of our existence is on a phone, our emails and messages and stuff, it's really difficult. And because I'm lucky just due to the technology security element of it, that the employed piece of work have a separate phone and a separate laptop, and I can't merge the diaries and things on that. So I have to be very organized. So that part of it, and because I've got certain days that I'm doing that's good, because that creates a barrier. In terms of like, yeah, I haven't managed it. I think we were chatting before we started recording. Exercise is a biggie, and because I prioritize that will actually mean that I will down tools and go off and do it. I need to be able to set a better boundary in terms of looking at the phone. Sometimes I'll pick it up and look at for nothing. I think it's about the boundaries. I can't do anything. It's no odds if I do or don't get back to that person. So that, I think that now I've got that kind of structure in my week, potentially a bit more than before. I need to be kinder to myself, and I need to be stricter with in terms of switch off times and things, because at the minute I'm okay with it, but I know that you're not completely mindful of, when you're in a place at home with partner or kids or whatever, that if you're not, friends, you're not in the moment if you're kind of flicking onto your phone, are you? So I like it. I think that's the difficulty.
Yeah, I do as well. I like being busy, and I like having things to think about.
Yeah, me too.
So I actually enjoy that part of it. I do a lot of exercise, and actually one of the reasons I do that is if I've committed to that, I make sure that I do it, so it forces me away from the computer.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's an accountability, which I think is a way for balancing as well.
Yeah, I think I do a bit of, not journaling as an emotional kind of feeling-based journalist, but in terms of like my kind of to-do list in terms of my well-being stuff, and it'll be about, I might want to be doing, I don't know, I'll have a rest day, but I'll have a couple of strength training days. I want to do 3 runs in the week, and I stick with it. So, well, 99 times out of 100, and if I don't, it's usually because I've kind of stretched myself, but I will stick with it, and I'm committing to that, and in a way that's I in some ways, when it comes to that, I will put stuff down and go and do that. So that gives me that bit of structure, I think. And also during that time, I might be thinking about ideas and stuff when I'm out on a run. I like that, but then sometimes I might not think of anything. So I have had probably some of the best ideas that I've had whilst out running, but then equally, sometimes you've had a stressful day. It's nice to sort of think of nothing. I will put music on when I run and things. So it's just, I think it's sort of it's a boundary for me, and it's nice to do it. So if I didn't have that, crikey, I don't know. I think I'd just be like prattling and emailing and never knowing when to stop, because I like it, but you've got to put a boundary in. I know you're supposed to, you work to live, you don't live to work, but when you enjoy it, that's difficult.
And again, like you, I've always enjoyed working. I've always worked, and I really enjoy working. So actually it is harder to step away from something that you enjoy than it is something that you don't. You have to put those strategies in place.
No, definitely. So so I'm comfortable with it. I think it needs a bit of perfecting. I do need to fine tune it a bit, but I do have some mechanisms in there that kind of make me step away.
And is there anything, if reflecting on your life, is there anything that you wish you'd known earlier that you think would have helped your business journey?
I think that in a way, it's the business journey, is sort of short as it's been in a lot of ways, is in itself been really self-developing for me. I think in the past, in work situations, I've probably been very much about, I feel like I'm a natural introvert, and I'm probably got a lot of the kind of imposter syndrome issues. So I've probably never quite pushed myself to maximize what I think my potential could have been. I think it feels quite different now, because I'm out of my comfort zone in terms of this networking arena. I'm out of my comfort zone in some ways outside of an employed setting, and I think that now looking back, I probably wished on sometimes that I'd had the guts just to go for it. I think that's the lesson learned, is just have a go. I probably have spent far too much time thinking what people think of me, and that's still a bit of a barrier in terms of socials on around the self-employed stuff. So you probably notice I don't do a lot of videos and reels and things, and that's something that I'm trying to build on. I think it's always a little bit about what will people think. Will they just be like, oh, what an idiot, and things like that. So I think I still do a bit of it, but I don't do as much of it. I think I'd be saying to my younger self, you know, give it a go. Don't care what people think. You know, is this going to be something that you even contemplate, like in a week's time, 3 weeks time, you know, whether or not you step up in a meeting and say something, whether you put yourself forward for that next role. And I think also that idea that there's no real such thing as a failure. I think I'm quite, you know, trying loads of things. Sometimes you might hold an event, loads of people come, sometimes no one comes, and it's just all a massive learning curve. I think it doesn't really matter in the run of things. Doing something is better than just, you know, you can sit and plan things within an inch of the life, but if you've not actually done anything, then you've not done anything. So very much like, just give it a go. And probably, and I need to take my own medicine here, don't over think about what other people think. I think that's the really good thing about the women's network, the fact that everybody, certainly in my network, is championing each other, and I don't feel like there's any cliques and anything snidey and things. And often I feel like with women, we you know, we can be quite judgy, and certainly on socials, and you know, you can see, you know, whereas women should be kind of lifting up other women. And I think that the network has given me the confidence to realize that 99 times out of 100 people are good, and they want you to succeed. And you know, we're not in competition with each other. I think it's, you know, it's a collaborative piece. It's good to be around people that are doing similar things, because you can gain so much knowledge, and you don't, it's not a competition. We're all in our own lane doing our own thing. And actually nobody probably gives a monkeys what I'm doing, or whether or not I've, you know, that they're not going to think what I'm thinking they may think about me if I post a video, post a photo, that kind of thing. So I think, I spent a lot of time worrying about that. I still spend a bit of time worrying about it, but not as much.
Last question, I promise. So what are you most proud of?
I think I don't do that thing that we should do, where we, you know, the list of things. What have I achieved? What have I achieved today, this week, this year? I write it down. I'm very much like, I'll do something, it can be a success, and then I don't even sit and appreciate it for at all. But I would say the running stuff, and I know this isn't probably, you know, what we're linking to in the podcast, but just because it's so out of my comfort zone. The younger me wouldn't have done it. I'm not sporty. I'm the person that doesn't get picked for team games, and I previously wouldn't stick to anything like that. And for whatever reason, I did. In like 5 years, you know, I've not done it for that long. 5 years on, I'm still doing it. You know, so I'd say to have done a half marathon. I've not done a marathon yet, but because it's so far out of my comfort zone, that I think, and I found it hard. I'm not one of, I think when you start something sort of in your middle age, it's difficult. I think that it's not like it's not something that I found easy. I found it really hard every time I went out, for probably about 18 months before it started to feel okay, or maybe I just got used to it. So I think that actually, and in a way, it's kind of a real big part of me now. And I think that it's given me confidence that probably that then is filtered into other areas of my life.
That's perfect. Thank you. And I can't think of a better place to start, so I'm going to launch into the conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, so what an incredible conversation with Anna. Her journey is a powerful reminder that change, even when unexpected, can lead to the most rewarding opportunities. From navigating a career shift with confidence to building a women's business network and balancing multiple passions, Anna's story is all about resilience, reinvention, and making an impact. We explored how defining life moments have shaped career, the personal skills that fuel success, and strategies that Anna uses to juggle business, personal life, and of course, running. Anna, thank you so much for sharing your experiences,
Thank you,
insights, and
Chloe.
wisdom. Your ability to embrace change and create opportunities, not just for yourself, but for others, is truly inspiring. To our listeners, I hope today's episode has given you plenty to think about, whether it's finding balance, trusting the process, or embracing the twists and turns in your own career. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share strings to your bow with anyone who might find it helpful. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time for another inspiring story. Until then, keep discovering your strengths and adding new strings to your bow.